attention for a moment. My name is Wilfred Victor. I've had the opportunity to get to know most of you, but for those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Wilfred Victor. I'm the Mayor of Hope, and I'm glad to be here today at the Advantage Hope AGM. We've had a very busy and productive and prosperous year in Hope for many reasons, and one of the reasons is the good work of the Advantage Hope group, the hard-working volunteer board and the hard-working staff. They've done exemplary work this year. We had a little delay in the schedule, and some of you are probably wondering, don't they normally start on time? We usually try to, but our chairperson fell unexpectedly ill tonight, so she's unable to be here tonight with us. So in her stead, equally capable board member Steve Patterson is going to be Anna tonight. So that will work well, I'm sure. And those of you that have not had a lot of experience with Advantage Hope and District of Hope, Advantage Hope is essentially an offshoot of the district. It's a very important element of the District of Hope. It's essentially the economic development arm of the District of Hope. There's the board of directors, which you see to my right, and then of course the district representatives on my left, which I'll introduce, whom I'll introduce in a minute. And it's been a very good model for our community. It's been a departure from some traditional models. Some communities hire an economic development officer and don't necessarily have a model like the Advantage Hope model. But I know that a community directly to our west, Chilliwack, they had the SEPCO organization, which I think is a sort of a big brother to Advantage Hope, and they've done extraordinarily well with what they've done there. A special welcome to our online viewers here, and thanks to the wonders of technology and the talent of Mr. Riley Foreman. I believe this is going to be on Facebook and online as well, so thank you for doing that, because that is, of course, the way to go nowadays, to be online with everything that you do. I guess Mr. Patterson is going to introduce his board here shortly, but maybe I'll start by introducing the district representatives, which I have the honor of working with. And the way the governance of this works is the AGM is actually for the district board, and of course the public is invited to participate in asking questions, listening to the presentation, so on and so forth. But since the main funding body of Advantage Hope is the District of Hope, this is where we have a chance to sort of essentially review the annual goings-on of Advantage Hope. So maybe I'll start by introducing Councillor Scott Medlock. Scott, if you put your hand up. I think everyone knows Scott. And Councillor Heather Stewin, Donna Bellingham, Senior Admin Person, and John Forlowski, our CAO. So work with those folks. And as a matter of process, there's a couple of motions to open things up. And the first motion is I don't believe there's any agenda additions, correct, Mr. Forlowski?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, we're good. So there's a motion that the March 27, 2018 Hope Business Development Society AGM agenda be adopted as presented. Do you have a motion to that effect? Okay, CFO Forlowski doing that. And a seconder. Okay, Councillor Stewin. All those in favor? Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, and I think everyone has a copy of the minutes of the AGM from last year. And the recommended motion there is that the March 21st, 2017 Hope Business and Development Society AGM minutes be adopted as presented. Do we have a motion to that effect, please? Okay. Ms. Bellingham?
Second.
And Councillor Medlock, second. Any comments pertaining to the minutes? Those in favor? Thank you very much. I'm going to call upon Mr. Patterson shortly, but I would on behalf of the district like to thank everyone that has worked hard for our community, both the folks on Advantage Hope on the board and the staff people. We have a couple of new staff members for Advantage Hope this year, and they have big shoes to fill because the previous individuals were very hard working as well. And by all accounts, the shoes are being filled very well. And I know that when you want something done, you pick the busiest people that you know. And I think the Advantage Hope board is a very good example of that model. Everyone on the board has very busy personal and business lives, and they choose to invest time for us to bring our community forward, and I certainly appreciate that. I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Bob Erickson as well in the audience, and are there other council members that I haven't identified? Okay, Bob, go check. Councillor Erickson, hardworking member of council as well, and I know there's a number of meetings tonight, so others want to be here as well. I'm playing hooky tonight I think this is the first regional district meeting I've ever missed in my time as mayor, but it's important to be here tonight to support the Advantage Hope crew. And I guess David Urban is our keynote address. He's playing hooky tonight too, so I'll vouch for you if you vouch for me, David. So, Mr. Patterson, if I could call upon you.
Thank you very much, Wilfred. Again, my name is Stephen Patterson, the Vice Chair of Advantage Hope. Unfortunately, Anna Gladue, as you've heard, is not feeling well tonight, but I will fill in her absence. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral lands of the Stalo First Nation communities of Chawathil and Union Bar, and Yale being very close by. I actually work with Yale during the day. That's my Monday to Friday job. And I would like to thank our board for serving this year. We have Anna Gladue, who's not here tonight, Kathy Harry is our treasurer, Daniel DeSerrano, Dawn Weens, Gina Bennett, Janice Zimmer, Kent McKinnon, Monica Florence, Ruby Rempel, Shannon Jones, and myself, Stephen Patterson. This is an entirely volunteer board, so thank you again for serving your community this year. It was great working with you all. It's always fun to come together and exchange ideas with other people that are keen and motivated to help move their community forward. And I think what we've seen in Hope, there's a lot of debate in our small town about economic development, but I'm going to take some advice from the great one here, and one of his greatest pieces of advice when you're doing anything is you want to skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where the puck currently is. So with that, I would say that the board's done an excellent job of predicting where the puck's going to be, and I'd say based on all the growth you see around town, the houses going up as fast as people can build them, we're safely within that zone. We've anticipated where the puck is going, and we've made moves to get there. So I'll keep it brief, but just wanted to welcome you all here, including our Facebook live stream audience, and a big welcome to David Urban. Thank you for coming out and presenting to us tonight.
My name is David Urban, and I work as the manager of outdoor recreational planning for the Fraser Valley Regional District. Been in this role for about, 4 months, but with the regional district now for 15 years. And the reason I was invited tonight is to talk about an amazing initiative that I've had the privilege of working on since 2009. And I stress the year because I'm committed to it and I want to see it through. And it's one of these legacy type projects, and I hope you get as excited about it as I do. Next slide. So tonight there's really 3 themes or topics that I want to cover, and it's around Experience the Fraser. The conception of the concept, how it was implemented, the progress we've made to date, and then probably most interested to you guys is how it relates to your community. So the background. This is, take our minds back to before the Olympics. It's 2009. The premier at the time is Gordon Campbell. He wants to leave a legacy, and there's thoughts of the Golden Ears Bridge going in. Is there a way we could create a trail network that resembles some loops? And then that got played upon, calling it the Olympic Rings. Could we tie our infrastructure to this trail network and make something spectacular? So the 2 regional districts, Metro Vancouver and the Fraser Valley Regional District, pitched an idea to him, and he said, okay, that's not bad. This is where you guys get excited. He says, but it's got to be bigger. And they're, oh, okay. What do you mean bigger? Well, it's got to go to Hope. All right, here I am tonight. We made it to Hope. So that was wonderful in a way, because the scale really warranted that geographical distance. And I say that because there's transition points. You're coming down the canyon, you enter Hope. Then the Fraser River itself kind of changes in structure and levels out a bit. So when you start thinking sub-regional, this is a perfect segment to look at, going from Hope to the Salish Sea. So the province got behind it, threw a substantial amount of money at it, and the planning began. And that's when I joined the team. I'm a planner by, I guess, heart, and had the privilege of leading the planning exercise through the Fraser Valley and partnering up with my colleagues in Metro Vancouver. And I was looking around, and it's hard to read, but I love this newspaper article. I save anything and everything related to experience in Fraser, and this one's from 2009. And I found it today, just by chance. And it's time for Hope to become a gateway to the lower mainland. And I've been reading, obviously, a lot of your documents that you produced at the district, be it the economic strategy or the OCP. And this is kind of that foreshadowing for where you guys want to go. And I thought it was important to share back today with you. So the process as a planner, we need to engage and talk and listen. And probably that's the most important part of it all. Just absorb and just take it all in. And I love this photo here. We've got reaches of the Fraser River laid out on tables. This is an event that was held at Seabird. And community members from their community, municipalities, interested citizens, interested stakeholder groups, you name it, they're invited to come out, and they did so, and just share whatever knowledge they had. And we were able to collect all these ideas. And all this information got digitized, and we created a digital atlas, kind of this repository of knowledge that is housed at Metro Vancouver and us. What did it all lead to? Well, the concept plan. And you see here, it's this blue document. It's really the vision of what Experience in Fraser is, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But accompanying a planning document, you don't want something that's just going to be visionary. You want some action behind it. And that's the white paper there. And that's our implementation plan for local government. I'm going to touch on a number of the actions that we've achieved in that plan tonight here with you. So before we go too far, I want to start with what is the vision of Experience the Fraser? And it's to experience and explore the dynamic Lower Fraser River corridor from Hope to the Salish Sea. To celebrate the spirit and the stories of its varied landscapes, diverse communities, and rich natural and cultural heritage. Now just pause for a second, because there's a lot being said in there. There's geographical distance, there's spatial time with a cultural heritage component, there's ties to the landscape. There's a lot being conveyed in that vision, so I always like to read it out. Now, supporting the vision are 4 goals. The first is the geographical, going from Hope to the Salish Sea. There's 2 real threads that tie that together, one being the Canyon to Coast Trail. We'll get into that more. And also the river itself, which we call the Canyon to Coast Blueway. And that's an important one, and I'll dive into that in a moment as well. Then the second goal, linking all these experiences together. I spoke earlier about all these gathering of information and all this listening we did. And I think we got over 500 data points, and we were able to create just this repository of knowledge. And what happens is everyone has their interest, which is beautiful, but we want to take it a step further and create a vision where we're able to kind of string it all together And I love this analogy, and I've used it for years, but I think it really reflects what Experience of Fraser is about. And some of us in the room may be quilters, and we each kind of have a little patch that we make, and we take them all, and my job is kind of to stitch them together and find kind of similarities and shared interests between them all. And you come up with some amazing themes. And there's 8 themes that get identified in this concept plan tied to these experiences. Third one, that's why I'm here tonight. It's all about partnerships. We have a great one with Advantage Hope, and I'm fortunate enough to be invited out to speak to you here tonight about that. And I'm always striving. This isn't David Urban's Experience of Fraser. It's everyone's. It's a shared vision. And it's a very dynamic plan. You see that kind of theme resonate throughout this talk tonight. And probably the fourth one speaks to me the most, and it's that connection to the river. I'm not from the province here, so what drew me was the landscape. And when you're in an environment like this, especially looking out towards the Fraser River, you definitely have exposure and experiences around the river. And that leads to an appreciation and understanding of the significance of that river. But then it goes a step further. And then that ties into your, say, ownership and protection of it. You become an ambassador in a sense. So I started to use that terminology a lot, where everyone in this room, you can become an Experience of Fraser ambassador and kind of float in and out of the project as you see fit. And it's because of that connection to the river. So the planning jargon, I got to bring out a little bit of it, so bear with me. We've touched on 2, the Blue Way, which is the river itself. You won't see a line going down the river because it's kind of a choose your own adventure book. Your points of access to the river are highlighted with blue dots. You're probably, everyone's looking up at Hope there, and there's some blue dots there, and you know the boat launches in your community. The trail itself, we're snaking down the Fraser River on both sides, crossing over where we can using provincial infrastructure such as the bridges. Then there's those amenity features that I spoke about that we captured, and they don't show up here because there's so many dots that would just overwhelm this map. And then we move on to nodes. And Hope is a node. And you're like, well, what's a node? It's a cluster of amenities. Like, there's so much going on here that relates to Experience of Fraser. It gets a special designation, and that's the node concept. There's 26 throughout the plan. And it gets another label. It gets a portal. And just what the name implies, it's the gateway, kind of the anchor, the endpoints of the Experience of Fraser. And you can see that you're the eastern portal here. Likewise, there's 2 down in Metro Vancouver, one taking you over to the island, and we use the ferry terminal for that, and then another into Vancouver as the other portal there. So I kind of weave this concept through. There's so many things to tie together. What I did was read every single official community plan, strategy, trails plan, you name it, document it, talk to people, and then brought out, and I should say the reason you do that, because these are approved concepts by your council, by different boards. They've been validated, so they can be incorporated into the plan. And then you start looking for gaps and opportunities that you can work with. And over time, since 2009 is a little while ago, things change and you morph and you learn to be flexible, new opportunities arise. I'm going to share one with you tonight where didn't see it 10 years ago, but it's presented itself, so you run with it. A lot of people say, well, what's on the ground? Like, how do you guys do it? And I can answer pretty favorably by saying we're doing quite well. There's a lot of trail that needs to be constructed, and it's a legacy project. This isn't going to happen overnight, but there's opportunities that present themselves rather early, and you can adopt some of them. And I purposely selected this photo because you all know where it is. And there's a sidewalk in place, What's missing is really just some brand identification around Experience the Fraser, and I don't think that's too far off, and you'll see why in the next few slides. All those amenities, those points, those dots, how do you fit into this? Well, we've got the dike network, that top slide, that's in Matsqui there. Kilby nearby, your adjacent community with the boat launch into the Harrison River. And then down below that populated with your waterfront park, which is a little gem. And then the camping that's happening along the river as well. These are placed all throughout the Fraser River. They're just, it's amazing when you start looking at it through that lens, how many opportunities and amenities there are to experience the Fraser. But when we first got started, people were like, I don't quite get this. I'm having a hard time conceptualizing it. Well, fair enough. You're flying at a pretty high level initiative when this work was being done. So we thought, you know what, let's put in 2 demonstration projects right off the get-go. And then people can kind of go there, get a sense for what it is, get the roots around it, and think, okay, this is starting to make sense. I can touch it, really. So 2 projects happened. One, the Mission waterfront. And you can see part of the dike was improved. We've got viewing areas, the Fraser River, everyone knows it as when it's freshet season, what is the gauge at Mission. So we put some markers on some pilings in the river that showed the elevation compared to historical years. And it turned into a celebration square, which is a great spin-off of that. And Metro Vancouver did a phenomenal job. They connected one of their regional parks over the Golden Years Bridge, and then tied it into another regional park on the Pitt Meadow Greenway. Fabulous stuff there. So you can feel the shift. We've gone from the planning, and the sticky notes, and the data entry to, we're starting to build out, boots on the ground. Kind of exciting. So how do we do this? Well, one thing was we need a kind of an image, a presence, a brand. And that was difficult because this trail goes through, I can't remember the number of municipalities, First Nations, and there's opportunities for private landowners to come aboard, and we've seen that as well. So how do you kind of wrestle with all the different wayfinding that these agencies, governments, citizens are interested in? So it was, I'll say, an enjoyable experience to work that through. But what we came up with on the next slide you'll see is an amazing product, I think, that's really kind of captured a lot of people. We've got our trail marker here. I brought a copy as well. That's the one in the white where it says Canada Coast Trail, Experience the Fraser. It's the breadcrumbs that you leave to guide you along your path as you're going along on your journey. Now, an interesting twist we did was, and many of you have been on the river, and for me, when I get on the river, I get a little disoriented, and I found that, Experience the Fraser, the name says Fraser. Is there a way to respect the environment and landscape and sign from the river and identify key features or amenities? And I've put this little example in. So in our case, the regional parks that are on the Fraser River in the Fraser Valley have been signed with this tasteful brown signs. And we're working with MOT, or Ministry of Transportation, to do the same on bridge crossings. And it's just a way to kind of keep the message flowing when you're also on the river, not so much on the land. We had to get creative with Experience the Fraser, and through that I mean, how do we do the build up? We had the planning money, and we did some demonstration projects. So I kind of revel at the challenge of looking for unique funding sources. And I found this job creation partnership program. You see there's individuals in these high-vis vests. They're looking for career changes, new opportunities, and we secured 2 grants to do projects related to experience the Fraser with them while they are acquiring new skill sets. So kind of a win-win. It's got a great social component to it. All these projects are speckled throughout the Fraser Valley. I think I'll just touch on one for time, and it's going to be the Fraser River Dike. And here's a map. Last year we opened up a segment of trail, huge feat. We've got a regional park there on the western side of the map, Island 22, major boat launch. And there is now 18 kilometers of continuous trail, a little bit on road, primarily on the dike, snaking its way close to the river, going all the way to the Agassiz-Rosedale Bridge. Huge success. The team was a part of that, and we've put trail counters out so I can get a sense for the numbers of users from a baseline perspective and watch the growth over time. And so far we're receiving favorable reviews. So what's going on at Hope? What's our chance, right? What can we do? I've got a few ideas for you, and they come through a lot of dialogue with Advantage Hope and reading of all your documents and just kind of keeping tabs on what's happening in your community. And, no, it's, as I always say, as a planner, it's good to go back to the base. And base for me are plans. And this one in particular is your economic development strategy. And there's 3 strategies identified. There's a Bluey's master plan, boat launches, and then very blunt experience the Fraser supported. So there's many ways we can connect through this document to do these improvements. You're going to see in a moment what they may be. Planners love their official community plans because they guide your community forward for the next 20 years. So I'm quick to open those up and take a look. And under your Parks, Recreation, Culture, and Heritage section, amazing objective, right? To promote Hope as an outdoor recreational destination based on its natural assets. Beautiful statement in there as a policy. Well, the policy underneath, hey, says it. Look to the Fraser River. What can we do around it with trails and parks? So very encouraged to read that kind of language in your document. So last year, we sat around and we said, is there an opportunity to do something together? And I said, oh, there always is. And I thought, well, what could we do? And, we're trying to turn Hope, I'm paraphrasing here, into a community where people they'll come, they'll visit, they'll stay, they'll spend time. It's a destination, it's a draw. We need some catalyst kind of projects to do that. We've got great things, but there's more we can do. Okay. And then 2 really rose to the kind of to the top. And the first here is your riverfront. And there's a way to connect your downtown and wrap around and make your way to the Tom Barrier, the flood area. And that's a riverfront trail. So some planning work will go into looking into how this connection can be made. And you're going to see a theme. We're taking your downtown as a hub and using that and creating those spokes that come off of it, similar to the old wagon wheel. And the reason being, commercial's there, parking's there. It's a great starting point, and you can branch off of that and go on your adventure. The next one, oh, I love this one. I think you guys have got an absolute gem. And it's the game changer. And I start with this image because there's nothing worse. You can't have a worse picture than this one. Old rickety fence, corner peeled up in the middle, trespassing sign that's fading out, some blocks, some erosion. I was like, oh my gosh, barbed wire, let's throw that in. Just keep it coming. It hurts. This photo hurts me. And I put it up there because it's a reminder. Oh, we can go so much better than this side. And let's see what the next slide is. Well, treasured past. This photo, November 1914. 100-year-old image. That is the exact same steel in that image in the photo before. Looking a heck of a lot better. Cameras back then, not so good, but it shows well. So what am I getting at? What a treat you have here in your community with the Kettle Valley Rail. And here is an infrastructure that crosses over the Fraser River to Crown Land on the west side, known as Landstrom Ridge, Barn, Fulton Lake. Oh my goodness. Protected, vehicles traveling above, underside, no interface issues. It's spectacular. So in the concept plan, this theme has been written into it. They've always been passionate about your community, about this area. So I want to show you next how I kind of see this through your lens of what it could potentially be. So anytime there's a freshet, guess who's in your town? This guy. I'm scurrying down to the river's edge, taking photos like this to show the volume of water that's moving through. I shoot video of it just to listen to it. It's amazing. Imagine being standing above it, looking down, north, south, east, west. It's a breathtaking experience that you have. Here, I had the opportunity through the Hope Mountain Center to paddle down the Fraser River on Earth Day many years ago. And what do? You click away and you get these wonderful shots, just framing the mountains in the background there. So a real treasure. Well, I also had the opportunity to go up in a helicopter at one point, and we were filming some footage, and I was shooting stills out the window for Experience the Fraser. And we're right above Landstrom here, looking down on the community and making that connection where we could start downtown, cross over using the old Kettle Valley Railway on the other side of the bridge, and saunter your way up for some outstanding views looking back and downstream from Landstrom there. So I really want to end on that shot there, because I think this is what you have to offer. And then through our BC Rural Dividend Fund, we're partnered with Advantage Hope. It's very rare that you're successful in getting funding for design work. It's always about infrastructure, building it out of the ground. And in this case, we have been successful in receiving funding for design. So we've been engaging Ministry of Transportation because it's their bridge infrastructure, and we're looking to start that process where we're going to design something spectacular on the other side of that bridge. So I'll conclude with that and say thank you for your time. I went overboard because I got excited tonight. It's all good.
Just hold on for 1 sec there, David. Thank you very much. I think we have a small gift for you for coming out and presenting on behalf of Advantage Hope.
Thank you very much.
Is there someone in charge of the lights? Please. Thank you very much, David. I know when you speak to the board and you share information and ideas, it's always very interesting, and you're very passionate about what you do, which is a huge value added. You know, you're not just serving time in a job, you're passionate about the difference you're making in the communities you serve, and I certainly have always appreciated that. So thanks for joining us today. Now, we're fortunate to have with us a number of presenters here to lead us in the AGM, and we have with us our new Executive Director, Patrick Earle, who comes to us with a lot of economic development experience. I'd like to as well acknowledge our former Executive Director, Tammy Shield. She's in the audience in the back. And, big shoes to fill here, but I think Patrick is doing his level best to make that happen, and I've met with him a couple of times. He's very passionate about Hope and area, and that's always a very good thing in his job. And Stephanie Hooker, a key mover and shaker in the Hope and area, so she's going to be presenting here with Sarah Brown. And Sarah, relatively new to our community, but also equally passionate about serving our region. So if I could call upon, I guess it's Stephanie will be leading in charge on this presentation with.
Patrick, did you want to go up first, or did you want me to go first? Oh, that's not. I was really planning on you going first. Go ahead. You know what? You go ahead, because you set up your presentation to go first, and mine flows out yours.
Let's make a lot of extra noise. Okay, so I'd like to start off by saying thank you to everyone for welcoming me into this fantastic community. There are many passionate people, community pride, and tremendous engagement within the district and the region that I really haven't witnessed before. And this is my 5th municipality, so wow. I've been in economic development for about 10 years, and I just have to say that Hope by far has been the most of all these aspects of just, you know, passion and pride and everything like that. And I've been in communities 100,000 people down to 1,500 people, rural, urban, and this is amazing. And yeah, I'm from the other side of the divide, but I can also see a lot of aspects between the two provinces, and I'm watching things unfold, and you know, I got positions on both, and I shake my head quite a bit. But the thing about Hope is like the amount of community organizations in this community of this size is just, it's amazing. Like when we do those monthly community meetings at the Fraser Valley Hospital, or the regional hospital here, it is just, the room is full of people from different groups, and you know, like 6,500 people approximately. It's amazing. But the local government, volunteers, engage in making Hope a better place to be for residents, businesses, visitors is just simply amazing. Ambassadors I've met and worked with, like I'm going to call you out, Brian, and Paul Stock. I haven't seen him here, but I mean, these two guys are just screaming about Hope, and they get so engaged in the community. It's unique and valuable. It makes our job a lot easier when there's people like that here. And then, of course, I have to call up someone else on the board, because the work that she's been doing, and being new, Shannon is just, wow. It's just like this new vibrancy, and it's just like the generations of this ambassadorship just keep flowing. And with organizations as well that bring value and asset development and amenities like the Hope Mountain Center and the Lions Club, and there's lots of them. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. I've been here 7 months, and yeah, I still don't know everybody. I don't know all the organizations, but it's an exciting thing to learn. I look at all this, and this is ingredients for making a healthy community and making an economic development effort a lot easier to do. I've also worked to get our efforts promoted in the region so far, and again, we have seen a welcoming of partnerships into the Fraser Valley and the province, and we have built relationships and partnering with the Fraser Valley group in events like the RBC Cup and the Ride to Conquer Cancer. And I'd also like to call out some DBC, or Destination BC friends who have attended here tonight, and I'd like to thank you for coming, and listening to what we got going on, and continue to look forward working with you guys too. The one thing about Advantage Hope I've seen is the tremendous base and its short history. And I have to say a special thank you to Tammy. Tammy, you've made this transition, let's just say manageable, but you have a tremendous amount of skill and a tremendous amount of history and passion for this community. And Helen, I don't think she's here, but Helen as well, just amazing. So it's been it's been easier to acclimatize here because Advantage Hope is doing so many different things. As well, current and past board members, I mean, you guys have helped. I mean, on the finance side, the committee on the finance side to help with the budget and everything like that to get to where we are today. I'd like to say a special thank you on that too. And I know there's a lot of history, and I've heard the stories of the things that Advantage Hope has done, and it's simply amazing. So everybody at this table is a complete asset to the community as well. There's so much skill and passion, and to be a volunteer board too on top of it, it's great. It's been quite a ride since I came in, and we'll talk about a few of those things as we go, but I'd also like to call out and call up, if I can, is the staff and the contractors. So Brian, Tracy, Stephanie, Riley, and Sarah. Sarah's our newest member. She comes from across the continent, and she's a new resident, and she came, and I picked her up at the airport, and she came with suitcases. She's found a place, surprisingly, and she's already getting into the community, and she's just going, holy cow, you guys. So I just like to say thanks to all you guys too, because the skills here as well, and it's amazing. And I mean, we're gonna hear from you two on everything that you guys are doing. And Brian and I are like these two guys are going to go out and conquer the world. And yeah, RBC Cup. We're going to shake some hands with people we haven't met yet. So it's awesome. And Riley, I mean, yeah, you're a voice. You're a passion of the canyon. You are a guy who's screaming hope on the electric waves. And it's great. And thanks again for putting us on live in this geeky stuff that you do. So. And Tracy's our new retail manager for the visitor center.
Great job.
And yeah, she's going to be talking with businesses, and we're bringing on some new initiatives out of the visitor center this year, and she's going to be on the ground and leading it. So it's going to be great. So thanks, guys.
Good. Thank you.
Since I can't read anything because I don't have my glasses, I'm going to have to translate with the paper. Yeah, so 2017 it was a year of change, it was a year of growth, new faces, and operations adjustments. We're also going to talk about the asset development and rural dividend and the visitor center activities for 2017, which Sarah wasn't here for any of it, but she's going to present on it. So that's now her animal. So, we'll go with that. So next slide. So with the year of change, it's been a transitioning of a long-term executive director in Tammy, and then bringing me in. And Tammy and I definitely we're kind of the same, but we're kind of different too. I think we have the same philosophies, but she's got completely different skill sets that I wish I had. For 2017, it's been a highly successful year for grant approvals, and you would see that in the rural dividend sort of leading the charge on that. And again, the skill sets of Tammy on leveraging that base funding that we get from district to expand it into so much more, so we can do so many different things, of course, which is going to help me go gray or lose it pretty quick. So I hope to just go gray. We have complex project management with multiple partners and stakeholders, and Stephanie's work with stakeholders on rural dividend is like an intertwining web of wow. So one of the things I wanted to call up, because if you look at something in a negative, and if you look at it, try to look at it in a positive. The closure of Highway 1 this last season with the slides, there was something that was kind of unique that I was watching, and there's some good and there's some bad, but I want to focus on the good. There's a lot of traffic diverted through Hope, and I'm a marketing guy. I like the idea of a billboard, but we sort of had a natural billboard happening when we had everybody diverting, and then there's new developments, new sticks going up on Water Avenue and Hope Princeton that these people can see. So like if there's people wondering if Hope is sort of lost in time, they've been proven wrong. And it was great to see all the freeway traffic diverted in that way. So, I mean, obviously, closing Highway 1 is a pain when the Agassiz Bridge is down to one lane. And, sometimes you have to go through Mission and Abbotsford to get back down, maybe faster. But it was frustrating, but I think, on the positive, it was good to see that people got a, snapshot of hope and some change. We had changes in the base of operations at the visitor center, and we conducted operations remotely for a few months at the end of last year. But again, on a positive spin, our remote visitor services was, and Sarah will talk about that, but our numbers are way up because we were doing that. And then I also had to deal with getting the news about Helen moving on into better things. So we had to deal with an operations manager, museum curator, who did a lot of the administration at Advantage Hope and visitor services as well as the museum. And hard to see her go, but I'm glad that Sarah came in and she's picking up the reins and moving us forward for 2018. So we have a year of growth through operations. We did a lot of partnership activities in establishing Hope as an important stakeholder in regional influence, Destination BC planning groups, Highway 3 Corridor, Gold Rush Trail in the Fraser Valley, Scenic 7 grant and administration, the Fraser Valley group, which we joined late last year, now includes Hope along with Harrison Hot Springs, who also was at the same time, along with Abbotsford and Chilliwack. Langley, City of Langley and Langley Township were a partner in the valley, and that changed, and Harrison Hot Springs and us had the opportunity to join in and work with the valley, or work with Abbotsford and Chilliwack on some joint marketing related to tourism. We have marketing and customer service training efforts continue, and we continue to have visitation to the visitor center, or increased visitation. While some of the other centers are showing decreases, we are showing increases still. I can tell because of the silhouette of his head. Continue support of community initiatives related to customer service training and event support and participation. We're pretty active in that, and so I wanted to go over a quick slide here to talk about our economic development focuses through the economic development strategy, and just sort of re-highlight it and talk a bit on it if we can. So the things we focus on are infrastructure, so through business climate, future employment, land, infrastructure capacity, asset development, and strategic planning and integration, business retention, expansion, community competitiveness, workforce skills and competitiveness, supply-demand chains, and downtown development, promotion, branding and communication, tourism marketing, access to opportunity, and research and information, and attraction, targeted sector information, educational institution, and current and potential markets. And so now we can come to you, Stephanie.
I also have bad eyesight, so I'm going to move to the side here. So I'm Stephanie Hooker, and I manage the asset development portfolio for Advantage Hope. And I thought I might just start off talking about what asset development for Advantage Hope is. So we have a 5-year economic development strategy, and that had a ton of public consultations. It's actually our second iteration of it. So Advantage Hope's role is just to implement the economic development strategy that the community outlaid for us. And in that strategy is a lot of asset development that is different from what the district or the municipality does. So sometimes when people think asset development, they think water, sewer, road. Absolutely, those are the tenets of municipal development. But there's district departments that handle that, Public Works and the Planning Department. They handle those things. They're very busy with those things. So when we're talking about asset development for Advantage Hope, we're kind of talking about that non-traditional infrastructure, such as trails and signage, parks, waterfront development, high-speed connectivity, food security, all those things that make a community livable, attractive, and contribute to quality of life. But certainly when you're dealing with budgets, they can't be prioritized at the top. That's where you put your water, sewers, and roads. And so it's really hard for municipalities to achieve these things. It's hard to get them funding. And so it's in our economic development strategy, and these are some of the things that Advantage Hope focuses on in our non-traditional asset development. So municipality does the traditional, we do the non-traditional stuff. And so why? Why is that important? Why is it so prominent in our economic development strategy? So in Hope, we're starting to really keenly feel there's development pressure coming. And so asset development really currently has a focus of preparing for population growth and density and doing it in a way that ensures for continuing quality of life for residents. So what does that mean? Things that, we're a small community, there's a lot of things that we enjoy about our lifestyle and our health here. Things like trails, we have a lot of trails. It's one of the things we all love about this place, but most of them are not legitimate trails. We have a lot of green space that we love, but most of it is not legitimate green space. So a really good example would be Thacker Mountain. We all love it. It's a gem. It's the pride of the community. We've all used it for decades. We're all trespassing. It's privately owned. And so as our, as population, as development pressure happens, our population is going to increase. And we're lucky in that we have a very limited land base, so we can't get into that urban sprawl that really kills community feel. But our limited land base means we're going to have to densify. And so as we get into multifamily dwellings and apartments and condos and things, those trails and green spaces become more important to our healthy lifestyles. And it's really important to make sure they're legitimate and protected so that we can continue to use them. So these are some of the things that we focus on. The other piece is around amenity migration. Some of you may have heard this before. Basically, it's the concept that people who dwell in urban centers, in the cities, these are the target demographic that we want to move to Hope. We want to transform our demographics. We want more young families and active young professionals to move to Hope. And so a lot of them are dwelling in Vancouver. And as soon as they start to have kids, the city becomes really expensive and it becomes a little hard to live in and raise a family. And so these urban dwellers, these target demographics that we want to move to Hope, they start thinking, maybe living in the rural setting wouldn't be so bad. And they start making their list of towns that they would like to maybe live in. And they start making their list of amenities they're willing to give up in the city to move to a small town, and amenities that are absolute deal breakers for them. And this is a well-studied concept. So these people will move to rural communities only if they have the list of amenities that they're looking for. So this is things like good schools, more than one grocery store, a cinema, a rec center, trails, parks, green spaces, bike parks, all these things. So they become very important for amenity migration, so new resident attraction, and they also contribute to quality of life for the residents that are living here. Yeah, so that's sort of kind of in a nutshell why we're undertaking the asset development priorities that we are. And as Patrick was mentioning, it's hard sometimes to get these things funded. So Advantage Hope really looks for leveraging opportunities. One of the opportunities that we undertook in 2017 is we took a look at the Othello tunnels through park enhancement fund that we leveraged there. That is our single biggest tourism attraction. We get over 100,000 people coming there every year. And we sort of take an approach with tourism in hope that it is the largest sector of our economy. The vast majority of our businesses here rely on the traveling public for viability, so we need to definitely address and embrace tourism. But also, tourism does a couple backflips for us. Tourism is also our resident and business attraction campaign. This is how we recruit people. We accept that everybody who chooses to move to Hope experiences Hope as a visitor first. So we want to make sure that those visitor amenities are really top-notch. And so one of the things with the Othello tunnels, again, 100,000 visitors a year, the signs are really kind of shabby and outdated and rough looking. And so in 2017, we have all new signage for the Othello tunnels and for the Hope Nicola Valley Trail. So they were completed in 2017. They'll be going in the late summer. They'll be going up this spring before the grand opening. So that's a good example of some amenity development that we've been doing. So the largest development in my portfolio this year is that we were successful in the Rural Dividend Grant. So this has been a real game changer for Hope. What we did when the Rural Dividend came out really focuses on partnerships. And so we sort of put a call out to all of our partners. One of the things I'm most proud of with Advantage Hope is all of our volunteers on the board, our wonderful staff, but then all of these community partnerships and regional partnerships that we've spent years building. And so when a grant like this came up, we just put up the bat signal basically, and we said, who's got what going on and how can we leverage money together and work on projects that align with the economic development strategy. And we got some really wonderful responses. And so basically how we approached Rural Dividend, our application, was we said we just renewed a 5-year economic development strategy. And there's a lot of things in there that are really hard to fund usually. Things like non-traditional recreation infrastructure that were eligible through Rural Dividend that are almost never eligible. I think David mentioned that you never get money for design work, and design work was a possibility in this grant. So we had these wonderful community partners show up, and we applied for implementation of Hope's economic development strategy, specific projects that are generally hard to fund. And so the why of it is that we're trying to transition, as Stephen mentioned, where the puck is gonna be. That's a great analogy. So we're trying to transition away from a traditional resource-based economy, which is where we have been, and transform those population demographics and diversify our economic base. So we're going to attract and retain new residents aged 20 to 55 with above average household incomes and professional skills and or higher education, and they will be interested in visiting or moving to Hope for our outdoor recreation assets and quality of life. So you flaunt what you got. We're the only mountain town in the Fraser Valley, and so we're gonna make sure those outdoor recreation assets are really catching attention. So we will reach our target demographic through destination and lifestyle marketing targeted at specific sectors, those sectors that have been identified in our ECDEV strategy, developing investment materials and tools and conducting outreach to those targeted sectors, and we'll keep them by developing our amenities and non-traditional or recreation infrastructure. We will make a promise through the marketing that we must be able to keep when our target demographic arrives. So we had we have a lot of projects. Patrick described it in a way I've never heard before, which was an interwoven web of partnerships. That is, wow, it's amazing. We have a lot going on. It falls broadly into 3 categories: amenity development, targeted sector marketing, targeted sector attraction and outreach, and I'll go through each of those. But I just want to take a look at that partner list. When we put up the bat signal for Rural Dividend, this is who came forward and said, we're ready to go, let's do this. And that is an amazing list. And it is a lot to wield. It's a big web of people. But that should be how community economic development is approached, because we're all in this together. So I'm really proud of those relationships. And so the first broad category that I was talking about was amenity development. So in 2017, in March, we got the grant approval. So since March, we've really hit the ground running. So destination trail planning and development plays a big role. Again, there's not usually money for planning. And we formed a Trails Master Planning Steering Committee, and the list of participants, people participating in that was on the previous slide, and it's incredible. And the discussions there have been really amazing. We're really building strong relationships there. We're finding out the common needs of the different groups in Hope, the regional needs, so BC Parks and FERD Parks and Rec Sites and Trails BC are on there as land managers. We've also got Chalfel First Nation and Yale First Nation contributing and building relationships with them and understanding their needs. And then we've got a lot of our local groups. And we're discussing things like destination trail development, mountain biking trail development, pedestrian connections like Hope to Chalfel and Richmond Hill, you know, things that are really important to the people who live here, but will also be part of that amenity migration. And then we had a paid trail crew in 2017. So we partnered with the Hope Mountain Center. We had a crew of 3 people who worked for 2 months. And they worked on over 100 kilometers of trail, a group of 3 people in 2 months. And if that isn't mind-blowing enough, most of the summer there was no machine tools allowed because of the fire hazard. And so there's no chainsaws and no brush saws, and they did most of the work by hand. So that makes it even more impressive. So paid trail crew is something that only a very, very small couple of municipalities have undertaken, Squamish being the leader. And it has made an incredible difference, huge return on investment. And so we're trialing a paid trail crew. It's not much money up front, huge return on investment, and it keeps those amenities, that amenity migration really strong. And so we're trialing it for 2 years to see how it goes. And we're really hoping that that is something that the municipality will choose to adopt as an ongoing thing. So this year there'll be a trail crew as well. And then as David mentioned, Experience the Fraser Waterfront Amenities Planning is perhaps my favorite piece of this whole destination trail planning. We formed Advantage Hope in 2009. We also formed as part of Pathway Partners in 2009, and the incredible Inga Wilson. We were talking about destination trail development and hope, and she brought up the history of the Fraser River Bridge, and we got talking about around the Pathway Partners table, and wouldn't that be an amazing linear park? And wouldn't that be, shouldn't we do something with Hope's waterfront and redevelop that? And at the same time, David Urban and his team was planning out this Experience the Fraser thing. And so we all kind of met up in 2009 and started hashing out these plans. And so it's been very exciting to see it all come together. We lobbied really hard back in 2009, 2010 with BC Parks. So Landstrom, Ridge and Bar are now in map preserve on their way to becoming a provincial park. The bridge project and the waterfront connecting downtown Hope to Tonbury Road and the bridge project were adopted into the concept plan for Experience the Fraser, which is incredible. And the Ministry of Transportation got on board with us making a park on their bridge. But one of the holdbacks was, of course, they needed an engineered design, and that is very cost prohibitive. It has been a stumbling block for years for us. And so Rural Dividend came up, and David in his wise insight said, let's do this. And so I'm very pleased. We've done a lot of groundwork and planning with Ministry of Transportation and David's team. And so we're in 2017, and in 2018 we'll be going out and hiring the engineer to do the design. So that's incredible for Hope. Coquihalla River Park upgrades, this was just one more no-brainer. You know, it's really hard to fund these things, but they make a big impact. So Hope Brigade Days Committee, Hope Lions Club, and Hope Motorsports Group answered that signal. And they said, listen, we love this park, it's multi-use, it's amazing, it's 22.5 acre park with multiple stuff going on. We hold events there, the events draw thousands of people to Hope, it's great for the economy. But when we hold multi-use events, we have to rent temporary fencing, install it, take it down, and pay for it. Thousands of dollars every event, just so the insurance will let us hold those events. So what if we leveraged and pooled our money through Rural Dividend and were able to afford and install permanent fencing? So it's a no-brainer, but it's something that never rises to the top in the funding list priority-wise. You know, you've got sewers and water systems and roads to patch, right? So this Rural Development, again, a really great opportunity to fund some of those things. And so we were able to install some permanent fencing, and now those community groups, it's now way less cost prohibitive for those groups and others to host events in that park. Community wayfinding signage, gosh, we've been talking about this since Tyler Mathis was our executive director, and it's such low-hanging fruit. It's good for the people who live here, it's good for visitors, it's good for new residents. We've just never had the budget to go after it, and so more will happen around this in 2018, but to start with, we're going to be sort of following out that Othello's Tunnel project. We had some volunteers work with us, and we've got a really beautiful metal train decal that volunteers and a high school class made for us on their cutting table. And we're working right now with FERD Parks and the district to demarcate, find a way to put Easter eggs out to demarcate that historic route through town. So from the Othello Tunnels, our largest tourism asset, all the way out to the bridge and Landstrom project that we're trying to develop. So that'll be the connector and bring more people downtown. So that's pretty exciting. So that's the amenity development pieces. Here's a picture of our 3-person trail crew rebuilding new stairs and a new viewpoint on the Hope Lookout Trail. So that's a very popular trail for both residents who live here and for visitors. So again, all of our development philosophy is, you know, you're doing things that attract new residents, but also improve quality of life for the people who already live here. On the right-hand side, we have Mr. Poulin's grade 6 class. So they came out when we were doing that fencing project. The contractor donated a bobcat and an operator, and Hope Mountain Center volunteers came out, and this grade 6 class, and they built a multi-use pathway all along the perimeter of that fence line. And it was hard work. That box that they are holding onto is what Kelly Pierce devised so that 4 grade 6s could together haul boulders along this trail. And they're still turning at the end of a couple of days. So I really love this project. It's been really great. So that second broad category of rural dividend activity was targeted sector marketing. So this is those targeted sectors that we've identified in the economic development strategy. So tourism, obviously, because that's also new resident and business recruitment, but also tech sector, clean water industries, creative class, virtual commuters, agriculture, all these targeted healthcare workers. So we try and reach them through targeted sector marketing. So that includes our newspaper inserts, transit advertising. Trails of Hope brochure is a fantastic example. It speaks to the lifestyle here and all of our assets. And then one that I'm really excited about is the HPC trail map. So the HPC trail has been reopened. Hope Mountain Center volunteers and the paid trail crews spent years, I think we're up to year 8, reopening all 74 kilometers of the 1849 Hudson's Bay Company Heritage Trail. It has 10 brand new backcountry campsites, tons of culture and history and ecology going on there. And it's Hope's West Coast Trail. It's incredible. So it's been built, and so we're honoring that asset is one of our single, until Experience the Fraser comes along, that is our single shining crown jewel of a new asset and amenity, but nobody knows about it. And so, again, there's never usually money for this. So Hope Mountain Center, we're working together, and there will be a trail map coming out. So we worked a lot on it in 2017. It'll be coming out this spring, and then there'll be more to come in 2018. And then the last and third category, broad category, is targeted sector outreach and attraction. So we develop the amenities, we market to those target sectors, and then some of them you gotta reach out and grab. And so in 2017, the 2 targeted sectors that we did some outreach work for to reach out and grab was tourism, again, because tourism is by far the largest sector of Hope's economy, and it's part of our resident and business recruitment campaigning as well. So we got together a tourism strategy advisory committee populated with members of the community, those who work, who are tourism accommodators, but also working in the tourism sector, and business people and people working in tourism. And we got them together, and they volunteered their time, and they did a lot of great work with a consultant out of Whistler, and we came up with a 5-year tourism strategy. The MRDT, which is the tax that hotels can charge on hotel room stays, was identified as a way to fund some of the strategies and initiatives, some of the initiatives in that strategy. And so we've retained that consultant to carry on, as she's working on an MRDT campaign right now. Basically, all the communities around us collect this tax, and it goes towards destination marketing, so marketing your community. And so it's a great way to have continuous ongoing tourism advertising dollars to get more heads in beds throughout the year, especially the shoulder season, so when hope is generally slower. And all the communities around us collect it, which means that all of our competitors are outspending us on marketing. So it was definitely a high profile piece in our tourism strategy was to catch up to our competitors and do a better job there. So that's ongoing. So that was a really big step forward in 2017. And then the other piece was we focused on agriculture. Not because this is a huge sector of our economy, quite the opposite. It came out of some land planning. An issue came up that, Hope has a really limited land base, and a fair chunk of that land is within the agriculture land reserve, and it will not be coming out of the land reserve. So it's in there, it's designated agriculture. We also have non-ALR lands designated as agriculture, and almost none of it is being utilized for agriculture. So we have really, at the same time, there's a community food security assessment done, and Hope's food security levels are quite low. We're quite at risk at it as a community. So if those lands are being underutilized, how can we get them activated? So this is not a massive sector of our economy, but it's not being activated or maximized at all. So how do we increase uptake for the lands that we do have? And so we formed an agriculture advisory committee. It's had amazing participation. We have a planner who specializes in agriculture area planning. And we're really moving forward quickly with this. It's been a really great process. And so a lot got started in 2017, and we'll see a lot more coming in 2018. So that was looking back on 2017. This is my last slide, so I had to squeeze a lot into it. So not everything is on this list, but I was only allowed one more slide. And so looking ahead to what 2018 has in store, a lot of it is rural dividend related. The first one at the top there under amenity development is we supported the Friends of the Skagit. We've provided through some park enhancement funding some more bear-proof garbage cans in the Skagit and supporting the work of the Friends of the Skagit volunteers. So it's really good to be able to support those partnerships. And then the vast majority of the rest of the list falls under that rural dividend program. That grant carries us through till April 2019. So we have a lot of projects to get going and a lot of partners to work with and coordinate. So we will continue doing trail development planning, and there will be a trail crew in 2018. It'll be a 3-person crew again, but they'll have a longer term, so I can't wait to see what they get done. David and I are hiring that engineer, and we are gonna get that design done, which is so very exciting for Hope. The wayfinding signage plan and the KBR route demarcation will get finished up. There will be a downtown visitor information portal. Coquihalla River Community Park will get some signage. Targeted sector marketing, we'll get some lifestyle videos and some advertising targeted at those groups that we've identified as we need. The HBC Trail Guidebook will come out, and then our agriculture area plan will be complete. Our 5-year tourism strategy implementation will continue, and we'll have some online investment tools for those targeted sectors. So it's been a busy year. It will be an even busier year coming up, and I really appreciate everybody's support and involvement.
I've been introduced a couple times already, but my name is Sarah Brown. I'm the new operations manager at Advantage Hope. I've been working here for just over a month, 2 months on April 12th. And I'm really, really excited about this community and the potential that it has. I've had a really great welcome here, and I'm really excited to be here talking to you today. We had a great, well, an interesting but also great year with the visitor center. last year. Before I get into the numbers here, I just wanted to cover a couple things because I was told this morning that I'm also covering community engagement, and I don't have any slides about it. But we did last year also participate in Communities in Bloom, and we're doing, Patrick talked about it a little bit, customer service training to Manning Park through Rewrite's Rewrite's volunteer program. And there were 3 cohorts with Free Reign's customer service training program. And I have taught a class actually since I got here. They're graduating the day after tomorrow. And that's really all I have for community engagement. But we are, we're working, I don't know about Communities in Bloom, but we're definitely still moving forward with customer service training. The Visitor Center last year had an increase in visitors over last year. We were open for slightly fewer operating hours due to some of the things that occurred at the end of the year last year. But the number itself was up significantly, almost 2,000 more visitors than last year. I'm really hoping this year we can break 50,000, because as you can see, we got really close. In 2017, increase also in buses that had gone through Hope, and a huge increase. I didn't put the number from last year on there, which I'm really disappointed, but it was, I think, an 89% increase in visitors access through roaming visitor services. So that is covered by a couple different things. I didn't write it on there, but Rainbow 35 was one of the events where people were recorded. Also, Destination BC's Innovation Fund covered a pop-up visitor service. That was the people traveling around with the red carpet, meeting people at different locations. The Fellow Channels was one of them. And then when the Visitor Center did close in, I believe, October, that time period between October and January when the trailer was put up, there was a great effort by the staff here to still meet and talk to visitors. So there was a really large number of visitors that were met during that time that otherwise wouldn't have had visitor service. So that was really great to see, and really, really a good team effort from people that got hit with a big surprise right at the end of the year. Oh, and the very last thing on there was we have 4 summer students last year through Young Canada Works, 2 ambassadors, an archival assistant who was hired through the museum training program, and an events and promotion individual. I have not met these people, and I apologize if I say their names wrong, but it was Isabella Dangino, Kia Angus, Taylor Hauser, and Arden Poulin. So visitor origins, parties is how we measure the number of visitors for certain things through Destination BC. That's a group that came together. So like a family of 4 counts as one party and that sort of thing. So as you can see, the majority of our visitors are from Canada, and the majority of those visitors are from British Columbia. But we did have, we noted there the number of parties from Washington, because that is a targeted sector for us in marketing, the sort of Pacific Northwest area. And a significant number of parties from Europe. We also have, you see there, 2,000, almost 2,500 local residents, and we're looking to start doing a lot of initiatives with the community to have that outreach where local residents can come visit us as well. You can go to the next. So these are the top inquiries for us. I don't think anything on there is a surprise to anybody. You can see in terms of our sort of custom categories, the Fellow Channels is number 1, Rainbow is number 2, and the museum is number 3. And as you all probably know, currently the museum is not operating because of the closure of the building. So we can see here there is obviously significant interest in the museum, and we're going to be looking in 2018 for some ways to keep our collection accessible when our building is non-functional. And there's just going to be a couple on here of grant highlights from last year. Destination BC Cooperative Marketing covers a lot of different types of tourism marketing, from sort of newspaper advertising to our social media advertising, to attending the Vancouver Outdoor Show with our tourism partners. I believe the Manning Park is here tonight, and they were one of those partners. The Innovation Fund, we already talked about a little bit, but they supported our pop-up visitor services in the summer. and so that helped our roaming visitor count. The museum assistance program covered access to past perfect museum software, which has gotten us into the 21st century with being able to electronically search our collection. There was a significant effort there as well to actually digitize the collection from the little note cards that it was on into a computer program. And that was a huge effort that occurred there, and that's what that funding covered. The Park Enhancement Fund, I think Stephanie talked about, that covered the Friends of the Skagit Bay Approved Garbage Can initiative. I think the only things on the next page are Young Canada Works, which we talked about, and the remaining grants cover asset development and rural dividend. I think that's actually the last slide of the whole presentation. Okay. We found out this afternoon that we were approved for 2 summer students for 2018. So we'll have as well.
Special thank you to Patrick, Stephanie, and Sarah for the good presentation. And as I was watching this presentation, it was sort of a trip down memory lane. When I graduated from university, it was over 20 years ago, which kind of makes me feel a little old today. But when I talked to my fellow graduates and people that asked me at the time, what are you going to do, where are you going to reside, my big thing was, I'm going to stay in Hope, I love Hope. And the response was sometimes like, oh, it was kind of like you had an unplanned stay coming up at a correctional facility. It was just not that exciting. Some people thought, oh, why are you staying home? But now there's a really neat mindset shift, as you've probably noticed. There's a lot of people that are jealous that we're in Hope. And I really like that feeling. It's kind of nice to be envy of others, you know. Yeah, and we are in this region. I think there's I recently went to a conference in Vancouver, and one of the fellow elected officials from down the valley, he commented on the bus advertising. He said, you know, I was sitting in traffic behind this bus in a traffic jam, and I was looking at a nice picture of your region. I should get a Hope. I shouldn't be in a traffic jam in Vancouver. And then I was at a dinner in Abbotsford, and the longtime friends that I was hanging out with that night, they said, you know, we looked through your leaflet that was in the paper about Hope and Region, and wow, it's cool there. I said, why do you think I live there? So it's kind of nice. It's a real nice mindset shift, and I really like to see. I like seeing the way that is happening, and you're all responsible for that, by the way. Good work. And I guess to adhere to the requirements of the AGM, I have to go up to my friends from the District of Hope, and we need a motion to accept the annual report as presented. Do we have such a motion? Councillor Stewart? Councillor Medlock, seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. And those of you from the audience that are saying, is there an opportunity for public dialogue input? There will be at the end. This is just to make this reasonably expeditious, so that there will be opportunity for public input. Now, obviously, there is public input tonight available, but I think what is equally important is that as the year progresses, as this year moves along, that if you have any feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, that you talk to the staff members or the board members about Advantage Hope. I'm always, as an elected official, I'm always as keen on negative feedback as positive feedback, because sometimes the negative feedback, people come to us with good ideas that they'd like to implement, and hopefully those good ideas they'd like to implement come with a little person power behind it. So if any of you are out here tonight that you have some good ideas, you have some positive feedback, even negative feedback, bring it forward, and you know, I know that the board would certainly welcome more help as the year goes along. And I believe we have the Finance Committee reporting next. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The audit, yes. Sir, one of our respected accountants in town, so there we are. We get the real goods here.
Mr. Kelly? Yes.
Hello, I'm Christopher Kelly, CPA, with the local
chartered professional accountant firm in McConnell Vocal. Personal note, it is nice to be on the good side of hope now, because I've had the same conversation. You know, I've been in this community a long time, moved away, got my education, came back, been in the Legion a long time. My first speech, you know, was 37 years ago, my high school graduation up there. So it's nice to be back, and we enjoy it. And my daughter just moved back, a young professional. Stephanie was talking about that, so she's all excited. Went away, got her education, came back. So might be, you know, new grandchild here. Might be because there's free childcare, but you know, hopefully it's still, you know, community in other place too. I'd like to thank the mayor and the councillors and administration at the District of Hope for their efforts in making Hope a great place. It's appreciated. The volunteer board, I know it's a lot of time and effort, and I appreciate all you guys do for our town here. Thank you. And I'll get into my independent auditor's report. It's independent because I'm not with council, I'm not a member of the board, we have no financial relationships, we are independent. It's to the directors. We have audited the accompanying financial statements of the Hope Business and Development Society, which comprise the statement of financial position as at December 31st, 2017, the statement of financial activities, the statement of cash flows for the year that ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. The second heading in our report is management's responsibility for the financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with Canadian accounting standards applicable to not-for-profit organization, and for such internal controls as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement. The third heading is my responsibility as the auditor, and that is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit, to conduct the audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. Those standards require that we comply with ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance whether these financial statements are free of material misstatement. It also involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on the auditor's judgment, including the assessment of risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. In making those risk assessments, the auditor considers internal control relevant to the entity's preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances. And an audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe that the audit evidence we obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. The fourth heading, the main part from my perspective, is our opinion. In our opinion, these financial statements presented fairly in all material respects the financial position of Hope Business and Development Society as at December 31st, 2017, and the results of its operations and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian accounting standards applicable to not-for-profit organizations. As required by the BC Society Act, we report that in our opinion, these standards have been applied on a basis consistent with that of the prior year. McConnell Vocal, Chartered Professional Accountants, March 27th, 2018. I'll go over just some of the numbers here. 2017, there was total revenue recorded of $630,000. They have base grant revenue from the District of Hope of $250,000, the main funder for the organization. The organization has gone out, and as we all know and talked about, and garnered other grant revenue. And they also run a retail sale, so go buy those Rambo shirts. And they get some smaller sponsorships and some smaller donations and sundry for total revenues of $630,078. Total expenditures for the year, $614,000. The single biggest one was all the project expenses for the Rural Dividend Grant and Destination BC and all those projects. They are ongoing. So resulting in a small excess of revenue over expenditures of $16,000. You add that to the prior year's excess of $74,000, gives the society an ending net surplus of $90,000. On the balance sheet, they had $509,000 in the bank as of December 31st, 2017. That is a lot of money, but Destination BC money, a big chunk of that is deferred to the prior year, and it's included with other things. So of the $509,406 is earmarked or dedicated to implementing the grants going forward into 2018. So 2018 is going to be a busy year, as the budget seems, and yeah, I don't have any. The staff are very great to deal with. I didn't find anything unusual. I reported to the board and Patrick earlier, and that's my report.
Thank you very much, Chris, and over to my acquaintances from the district. We need a motion to accept the audited financial statements, please.
Yeah,
Okay, Administrator Forlowski and Administrator Bellingham moving and seconding. Questions or comments, folks? All those in favor? I thank you. And then we have a presentation here by Mr. Earl. And I had a couple of visits with Mr. Earl, and I think his extensive economic development experience in other communities will come in really handy here in the future as well. So look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Another one. Okay, this is the exciting stuff. I want to talk about looking at 2018. And Stephanie has talked about the asset development side of that, so I'm not going to go too far into that because it's that interwoven weave of everything that she does, and she's the best to explain it. But what I'd like to talk about is the outreach that we're going to do in regional and local engagement, new initiatives, a marketing audit, asset mapping and promotion, so like meeting space inventory as an example. Brand marketing, Hope Cascades and Canyons with Destination BC, and prepare for the MRDT. So on the outreach side, with local, regional and local engagement, involvement in events and initiatives with Fraser Valley, Highway 3 and the Canyon. RBC Cup is something that I'm pretty excited about. I think we have the opportunity to be involved as a partner with RBC Cup. So what we're getting with that is it's a pretty great deal. So what we're going to get a rink board within visual of the TSN cameras. So the goal game will be televised, and you will see it. You'll see the Hope banner, or the Hope advertising on the rink boards. We're going to be on the ground there for 8 days. Brian and I are going to be working some long hours and doing those handshakes. We also, we've arranged within this package, we'll be doing a puck drop with the mayor. And we are now working currently on a jersey design with Hope Cascades and Canyons as the crest, the number 1 on it. There's some talk with Riley about putting 1, 3, 5, or 7 on it. Go with the number 1. And we're going to have our hashtag Embrace Hope BC as the name. We'll have the Hope O as part of the logo on the shoulders. And it's all in the branding colors and logo. So as we're migrating around the RBC Cup for the 8 days, we're going to be jerseyed up. I wish I had one tonight to present to the mayor for the puck drop, but they're in production now, so I couldn't show it off tonight, but I really wanted to. But they'll be around. And after the RBC Cup, we could potentially take orders for someone or anyone in the community to wear some local pride. The Fraser Valley Group, again, is another one I wanted to touch on. Well, I did a bit before, but the partnership with Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Harrison Hot Springs, the Fraser Valley Group, we're looking to intertwine some of the activities and hope into the valley. And these could be trail tours and things like that. Also part of their experiences guide, which has been an ongoing magazine, will be one of the 4 communities on that, and their reach goes into Pacific Northwest. They take it to the Seattle shows and stuff like that, so that's a new reach for us. And it's a pretty slick looking guide based on past years and hopes in the one that's being produced now. Scenic 7's been an interesting one. That's a great project. From my time in Alberta, I worked on a thing called Rockies to Badlands Parkway between Sundre and Drumheller, and this sure feels the same. From Coquitlam to Hope, the number 7 is a unique product development piece that I like to see as it matures out, with Hope being on the end of it. And then, of course, all roads lead to Hope, and so that can tie into things that go into the interior and beyond. And we're at the center of the universe there. So, experience at Fraser, talking with David, getting involved with the planning group at DBC. We are just sitting there during those meetings, talking about that. I see that project as just a gem, and I think that with the design and everything that Stephanie and David are working on, and then layering on some stick building around that and up through to Delta, it's an amazing project that I see long term. That's an international product, and hopes on the end of that, and that's awesome. Manning Park Dark Sky Festival and designation. Now this is one that comes from something I've done in my past as well, and working with Manning Park. Astrotourism is something that is big in Alberta, and it's crickets in BC. And this thing can tie to Indigenous storytelling, and it's something I think Manning Park, I'm so glad they've embraced this, and they're already advertising their festival stuff that's coming up in the fall. And I gotta put some work into it. I'm doing a speaking session at the Royal Astronomical Society in Vancouver in April. I think it's the 2nd Thursday, and so I'll be at SFU talking about the dark sky and astrotourism product. And of course, I'll be wearing the Hope colors and talking about where I'm from. I really think that with all this stuff happening in Hope Cascades and Canyons, I think that this is a product that can really also tie us to the Indigenous cultures in the region, and really make Hope a showpiece for this. And Manning Park, boy, it's going to be a busy year working with you guys. Continuing work with Destination BC for marketing and product development efforts, and we're getting a hosted tour to their offices in Vancouver in April, and I got a lot of learning to do. My experience has been with Travel Alberta, but Destination BC is definitely got some interesting stuff, and the more I know, the more we can work together better. And building connections with Indigenous tourism BC and local nations relating to economic development and tourism. I think there's some great pieces here that can really help Hope. And then, of course, building connections with federal and provincial ministries and regional economic development agencies and departments. And so now with these growing pains coming out and the AGM here now, looking at 2018, I just can't wait to get my hands dirty and really build some, I call it building out the Rolodex for me. So it's looking great. And then connecting with regional developers and local business. We got some initiatives starting relating to local business as well. And continuing with the customer service training and community development efforts, of course. Got to speed this up so we can get home before it gets too late. But new initiatives. This is one I'm pretty excited about. It's again taking something that you're challenged with and working to try to work a solution out. We're hoping for April 1, but I don't think we're going to get there. Maybe April 15. Is we want to launch a business market at the visitor center. So working with district on getting the event permit and doing everything the way we're supposed to. We want to basically rent out space in the yard, 10 by 10, to offer to every business in Hope with a current business license, and regional licenses as well, if that's available. That offer 10 by 10 space on Water Avenue, because we are getting the visitors. We show those numbers, and basically that 10 by 10 space, it's just basically $10 a day. It's 7 days a week, and you know, the thing is that with the space we're in, it's a little bit smaller. We have this yard that's accessible and we can use, and we can get people really trying to get a vision of Hope, not just as a bathroom stop. It's the idea that we can have representation of businesses right there and try to get them to come into the community. And it's open to any business. It's just as long as you got a business license. We don't really, you know, it's not a craft thing. It's really any type of business. So I mean, like the Cal Tires, if they want to say, hey, we're in town, like, and just have someone there. It's basically an active business card with a greeting person to engage the traveling public. Of course, the RBC partnership. The business market we like to run from mid-April to October 1st. And then Tracy with the visitor center is marching with that, and she's going to be out talking to local businesses about this opportunity. We really want to start, and I think what we experienced with the business mailer, actually promoting the AGM. We really want to get that relationship building. Like we've heard on the MRDT, is that not a lot of hotels actually even know about us. So we really want to build that sort of two-way communication between Advantage Hope and the businesses. Also, again, to be in preparation for the RBC Cup is an investment package design. We have new presentation folders that are in production now that are pretty slick. They're highly photographic. We're going to be putting investment information in it, and of course the visitor guide, the trails brochure, and all those base things. But we really want to start to tell some different waves of economic activity that are happening in Hope, whether it's related to housing or assets that the community has beyond the tourism pieces. You know, the types of available land and anything that really we can have engagement with an investor. And then we're just going to load these things up, and they're going to be basically our walking around, handshaking arsenal. We'll have them available at the visitor center too, because the other thing we want to do long term is, well, short and long term, is to really take the visitor center staff and give them a little bit of economic development background. So I'm going to be talking to economic developers of Canada, looking at training programs to give our visitor services another layer, because they are the first engagement potentially of a new investment coming into the community. It's you know, their assets, and I think they can really help us on the economic development side. Manning Park Dark Skies, Fraser Valley Group product development, working with them and seeing how we can connect into their existing products, and put Hope, just intertwine it into, I love that word tonight, intertwine it into their efforts and what we can do, you know, connecting with Harrison and stuff like that. And then something that's really important to Stephanie and myself is communications and doing an integrated marketing communications plan. So that everything we do is highly, you know, it's slick, it's strategic, and everything is leveraging something else. And with that, this all ties into like the preparation for MRDT. But to sit down and do a marketing audit, our marketing funding, cooperative marketing, is getting a little bit tighter year over year, and it's just to sit down and review all of our marketing pieces and marketing activities and see if they can be optimized, look at the ROI, and just sort of go through everything and see what we got, and then what else we can do. And again, those what else we can do goes into the integrated marketing communications plan. Work to align with existing brand, and when relating to tourism, align more with Destination BC's brand and strategy. And this, of course, takes us from just a regional play to see if we can get engaged in anything that they're doing internationally or nationally, and aligning our brand with theirs, and just making sure that that messaging's working well together. Prepare for the MRDT, and the audit will aid, well, sorry, I said that. Talking ahead of myself. Asset mapping and promotion. Develop a meeting space inventory, and this is all part of these kits, and this helps also visitor services, but to look at meeting space inventory so that we can try to get some people, you know, like promoting the stuff that is the meeting spaces that are available in town, whether it's with Fraser Valley Regional District. I know they have some stuff. We rented a room off of them this year for MRDT and such. Rates and things like that, to see if we can provide things, you know, that people can ask for, we can just provide it to them. Detailing assets will support investment package as well. Brand marketing with Hope Cascades and Canyons and DVC. The marketing audit will look new ways to support and promote partners. We've had a few discussions about the Vancouver Outdoor Show and stuff like that, and looking what we can do going forward with a little less funding, but be more effective, as an example. And working with Destination BC to look at opportunities to grow product development. And this could be, these are just these initial discussions to see what we can do with them, and really sort of intertwine our efforts. And again, work with Indigenous Tourism BC to see if we can assist in regional Indigenous product development and marketing to enhance Hope Cascades and Canyons efforts, expand partnerships within the Hope Cascades and Canyons for better long-term viability and strength of partnership. And overall enhance promotion and awareness of Hope Cascades and Canyons branding into current channels, and work with Destination BC to expand the brand into new markets. And prepare for the MRDT. In the near term, we're working with Suzanne, our contractor, on this to be on the ground and provide that advantage of direct support with myself and a hotelier in town to go around and just try to get those final signatures. Ensure we are ready with a plan to hit the ground running for product packaging, event promotion, and design. And a lot of this, I think, will come through the dialogue of talking to hoteliers that we just need to get over that line. Work with regional partners already operating in MRDT as well as DVC to see what efforts work and don't work in their communities to get the heads in beds and diverse tourism spending in their communities from campaign efforts. And then again, have MRDT integrated into the marketing communications plan, and related to economic development, promote MRDT and investment packages for new development opportunities, which, you know, if we can look at getting potentially some hotels in town, and you know, with MRDT there, we're just so close, to see if we can, again, get it, you know, crossing over that line. And that's 2018, as well as all Stephanie's stuff. So, that's it.
Thank you, Patrick. And I looked at the clock here, and we're running a little behind schedule. I know a number of you have to leave here fairly quickly, so we'll zip through the next couple here fairly fast, and then we'll have opportunity for questions and feedback from the public here. Okay, now the next part here, as all of you have seen in your program, 7A, and that is to make sure we have continuity of a functional and functioning board. And the names that have been presented to us here are as follows: Anna Gladieu, Catherine Harry, Dawn Weens, Gina Bennett, Shannon Jones, Kent McKinnon. He's not here tonight, but I believe he sent an email indicating he is willing, ready, and able to serve. I think he's out of town tonight. Monica Florence, Stephen Patterson, and then Janice Zimmer. She's available but was not in the program, but she's good to go. And there's additional opportunities coming up here as well for folks, I believe, so that will be good. And looking to my acquaintances from the district, looking for a motion to allow these good folks to serve our community. Okay, Councillor Medlock, moving. Okay, Administrator Bellingham, seconding. Questions or comments? All those in favor? I thank you. Oh, Ruby Bramble is there. That's almost like a friendly. Are you playing hard to get, Ruby? Okay, no, well, I'm glad you've decided to. This is good. Okay, well, let's throw an additional motion here for Ruby Bramble.
I'll move that.
Okay, thank you. You feel special. Not everyone else got a special motion, but you did. Okay, moved and seconded. Sean and John moving and seconding. All those in favor? Thank you. That's good news as well. Thank you. And then an acting chairperson, would it normally be the vice chairperson?
Your worship, yes, I nominate Stephen to be
Okay.
the acting chair.
Was it a voluntold kind of concept? Voluntold, okay, that's, do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, and then you can decide amongst yourselves here at the next meeting, I guess, who does what. And so all those in favor? Thank you. And then, of course, as everyone knows, we need an auditor for the next audit, and looking to ratify McConnell Vogel as the next auditor. Okay? Mr. Borlowski, Ms. Bellingham, all those in favor? I thank you. And so we can get to the questions from the public. Let's adjourn the AGM, and do we have a motion to that effect? Thank you. Councillor Stewart, Councillor Medlock, all those in favor? I thank you. And now questions and comments from the public. There must be some, there's so many friendly faces. Mr. Bailey.
Good evening. I would just like to commend this organisation for the remarkable work it does in our community. Over the last couple of years, Free Rein Associates, which is the local employability and training company in Hope, has formed a unique partnership with Advantage Hope, where Advantage Hope developed a customer service skills training program. And so that program has been delivered several times now. I'm going to guess about 8 different sessions over those 2 years. And literally hundreds of people have passed through that programming who have gone on to gain successful employment in our community. And that is actually part of a twofold piece. Firstly, it helps people who've been living in poverty to start to earn living wages. But the other part is, through the feedback that we've received from employers, is that they're now able to hire people who have that skill set instead of having to just take whoever came along. They've been able to be selective. And so that project has really benefited both people who are unemployed trying to acquire work, but also our business community. And so it's been wonderful. We've had your team come in and present that, and that, for our clients, builds a huge amount of credibility. So when board members have come and spoken to our group, or when your team members have come in, that credibility means that there's something worthwhile for them. And so we are very appreciative of the work that Advantage Hope has done on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. I feel like that teacher on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anyone? Anyone?
You probably already saw them, but we do have, you see that white box back there, we have little comment cards. So if you have something that you want to say, but you don't want to stand up and say it in front of the group, or you have something that you want to talk with us about in private, you can take one of those cards and fill it out. You can either leave it in the box or bring it with you to the visitor center to talk to us about it. So if you do have an idea that you're thinking about, but you didn't want to stand up right now, you can pick up one of those on your way out and bring it to us or leave it here. Just wanted to let you know, because I wasn't sure if everybody saw it when you came in.
Thank you, Sarah. And I guess the one comment I would like to maybe pass on to the board as well is I think the board and council are essentially in the same boat in many ways. We deliberate a lot of different issues, very diverse. We make a lot of decisions that haven't been made before. And sometimes when we make these decisions, we think, no, this is an awesome decision. Like, everyone's going to be really excited about this decision. This does not usually happen. There's always someone that is maybe critical of the decision, maybe doesn't have the information, the same background that we have or you have. So I think, although you're not technically sort of elected politicians in the community, I think there's a little bit of political fallout that naturally falls on any community group that's trying to make an impact and hope and do things maybe a little differently than have been historically done. So I would like to thank the board for all the effort and not only celebrating the positive, but also putting up with some of the negative that pops up when you serve in leadership in any community. It's not always easy, and I appreciate you very much. I mean that to everyone here. And there's lots of goodies from Subway here and coffee to keep you up late at night. I think we can even take some food home because we have more than enough subs there to go around. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Feel free to stay and visit and introduce yourself to people you haven't met before. And just keep up the good work. And very much appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you.